Alright, so here we are back in our site, and what I want to do is create a database so that in future videos I can hook it up through JavaScript or PHP or whatever. So let's go ahead and manage our website. Now, what I'm going to do is under Tools on the side here, I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to go to Database Manager. Notice I don't have any databases. I think you only get, yeah, you get two databases. So I'm going to go ahead and click New Database, and I'm going to name my database Game. And the username of the database for me is just going to be EXO. And they're going to automatically add some numbers once I get back in on my username. For the password, if you click show password, you can click randomize and it'll give you a bunch of different ones. So a good way to do this is either create your own, right? Or grab the one that you want and copy and paste it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video now. I'm going to randomize my password and then I'm going to paste it in a Word document and save it on my computer. Okay, now I hit create. And some of this stuff takes a little bit of time to get going. Um, and so here we are. And you'll see in a second that our database is going to pop up. It's now creating our database. All right, so now that I'm in here, you can see that it gave my database this ID, that's the name. And within that, my username is all of this, and then here's localhost. Now, if I click on Manage and I click on PHP MyAdmin, it's going to fire up the PHP MyAdmin user interface. Now, if you're not familiar with it, on the left-hand side here are all of your databases. So this is the one that I just created, Game. And if I click on that, you'll notice that I have no tables in here. So kind of to run you through this a little bit, if I click on SQL here, you can actually run and test SQL commands onto a table or database. You can search your tables and databases and all that good stuff. You can export, import, you can query. What we're going to focus on for this tutorial is just clicking on here, this first one. And I'm going to create a table inside of game called games. And I'm going to make my table lowercase. So let's actually make this called video games. And because maybe we'll have a table later, so video underscore games, because maybe we'll have a table later that has the, um, maybe we have board games and stuff like that. This is the number of columns. Remember, a column represents an attribute. So for example, a video game might have a name, right? It should have a title. It should have the date created, the cost. So let's actually just go with 3. And I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and that'll create the table for me. So this first one, you always want to do an ID, and I always make it an integer. I leave all of this stuff as default. The only thing I turn on is AI, and what that stands for is auto increment. Do you see that? So every time I create a new video game, Mass Effect, whatever, that I'm entering into my game company's database, it's automatically going to give it a new ID, 0, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and hit go on that. The next thing is I'm going to type in title, and I'm going to change that to a varchar, and the length is usually 255. If you leave these blank, it'll automatically update it. And then maybe the price, right? So sale price, and instead of an int, which is a whole number, maybe we'll do, let's see, we can do, there's some other cool values. There's a float here. Float means that we have a value with a decimal in it. And you can see as I highlight over it, it says a small floating point number. The point represents the decimal, and it goes all the way from -3 trillion to all the way up to +3 trillion. So I'm going to hit float there. And I'm fine with all of these values, and I'm just going to hit save. And now it's processing that request. Now let's say, hey, you know what? I forgot something. If I click on structure here, you can say, I'm like, you know what? I'd like to actually add the date that this game was created. Well, after price, I can actually add a column by hitting go. And then here I can type in date, and I can make the type actually of type date. And if you notice, there's a default here, and it says current timestamp. And what that adds to it is the current time that I'm adding things in there, okay? And so if I hit save on this, and we go back, you'll notice that now, if I click on my video games table here, and I'm on the structures tab, you'll see that it added that date at the bottom of my table. And so in the next video, we'll take a look at kind of expanding out our website a little bit more.